All right, there we go right here. I'm getting the Bookmap up and running. So, red candle off of R1, big top wick on the NASDAQ here. And let's see how this is going to fluctuate. Amazon is dumping its pre-market gains. XLF, big red candle on there. The bonds are situated here at green. And ES is sitting here at 41.49, just kind of chopping back and forth between R1 and S1. Bam. What up, YouTube? How's it going? All right. Yeah. So yeah, that's one thing we're gonna have to get used to. You know, we're gonna have to get used to the to see how the Amazon is going to be priced, and look at the options from there going forward. Let's take a look at the Neo. People are saying that's going nuts. Yeah. So big green on Neo up to 19 and change, going into their earnings coming up here in 3 days. In 3 days. I'm down 30% on that overnight put, but we'll see. We'll see. What up, Robert? How you doing? All right, so after a nice little green flusheroni there, we got a little red. We got this green buy up in between. We're just still pinned between R1 and S1. NASDAQ is coming back up here. VIX is 24.98, and watch for a breach lower here through here. Yes, for 3 times. Yep, I'm still holding that put. Still, it's a long dated put. I'm not day trading a monthly put, so it's a long dated put with intent. So, yeah, no, not John Cena. It was the Iron Sheik. Iron Sheik called me a jabroni. All right, so 414.92, right in here between R1 and S1. So, yeah, with this week, there's going to be a lot of pent-up energy going into. Remember, Friday is going to be CPI, and it's incredibly anticipated. Gas prices hit an new all-time record this weekend. I think the national average finally broke over 4.8, which is a phenomenally high all-time record. So with gas prices going crazy here, the prices of agriculture continue to climb. The CPI is hugely in question, especially with Europe posting a historic CPI last week. And now we are looking towards ours. And we have Asia's CPI being released on Thursday, and then ours will be released on Friday. So be on the lookout for that. So Amazon had a little green after that big downside there. They popped up to 126, dropped all the way down to 124, and now they're just hanging out. So the SPX put is just under break even. I may go ahead and we'll see how that works today. If we start to have a rally, we'll see about that. But we're just a couple of percentage points down. No big deal about that one. All right, so a little topic off R1. Hanging out here still. No plays because we're just kind of chopping right in between R1 and S1, looking for a breakdown or breakup. So let's see if the morning energy gets released. Maybe we'll start building into some credit spreads now that the VIX has started to come off. VIX is back down in 25, maybe 24. Friday would have been a beautiful day to take some credit spreads, but looking today to see if we can possibly maybe put some of those on if the price action is going to be kind of like what it was the last half of the day on Friday, which was terrible. It was untradeable for the most part. All right, more red coming down through S1. Maybe get a little gap fill. There's right through, they just put in a new low. They popped through the pre-market lows for SPY, and now they're dropping down through S1. And punching through. So Boeing's dropping as well. Yeah. There's a lot of red coming into the market here. I'm watching through all the big dogs here, and there's a lot of red popping in and out. Let's take a look at the book map. Don't want to do that. All right, now they got that up and running here. So they've got a little level here at 41.40, followed by 41.57 above, 41.65. And then that level from last week is still hanging out at 4,200, 42.05. That's the level we saw last week. That's still there. Underneath, they've got everything out there that's pretty much uniform though. There's pretty much even Steven here between above and below. So I'm going to look for anything to kind of poke its head out on the book map here, but so far nothing else. Taking a look at the NASDAQ, they've got us down here at 12,681 and then 12,700 as well as the stuff above us. So let's keep a lookout for that one. Boeing is absolutely in free fall. Nice large red candles here on ES as we have punctured down through S1 and continuing to drop. Taking a look at the VIX. VIX has popped up to 25.24, still maintaining this 24.25 range. And it looks like we're going to make an attempt, maybe possibly, to fill that gap, which would be a considerable downside. But there's a first push down to under S1 to 414, and it's kind of hanging out. Yeah, I saw that about Elon. Not looking good for the Twitter deal, but we'll see how that's going to play out. Still coming down here. NASDAQ is 12,696, and we're popping on down. That right there is about a dollar move off of open. It looks like we're retreating down just a touch here. With a little bottom wick, So, we're going to have to adjust from, since that VIX has opened the week lower than what we're normally used to. It's still a high VIX in the big scheme of things, but with us being used to a high 29, low 30 VIX, the price action is going to be a little tighter than we're used to here. So we have to take what we can get and scalp in and out of positions as aggressively as we can. But then again, get ready for next week because it'll be right back up. Yeah, I wouldn't put in puts just right now. Let's see, until we break. If we break down, then yeah. But right now, I'm just gonna wait to see what's gonna happen here. The swing puts are just under break even here, so if you're not comfortable holding a red position, then now's your time to exit before if we do start going up, before you start dropping on that position. But I'm still going to hold mine. What are my thoughts on volume to price action indicator? You mentioned about it so that's stuff that I've looked at a lot. Now, when I'm doing that price action through volume analysis on there, obviously it's one of my favorite things and very telling. So it's a great indicator if you want to take a look into that. But sold half my Twitter puts. Nicely done, Ray. Yep, I'm going to wait for the shakeout. So nice green coming back. We've got Amazon's nice large green candle there. Microsoft coming up here as well. And let's see where we're going to go. Microsoft is coming back up here. Let's take a look at the bigger stocks right now. Apple's coming back up to 147.92. Microsoft is down. Amazon is down. Google's popping up. So Google gapped up from 22.87, and they are climbing aggressively here. Tesla's down sharply. Let's see if they can hold. I figure with the Twitter deal coming off, they might be okay. But yeah. SPY, nice green candles right back to R1. All right, and right there, they just went it from a low of the day to the high of the day, right back up to R1. All my indicators just went wonky on me. There we go. All right, now they're back up. Cool. There you go. No, that's good. That's good. All right, so let's get this morning shakeout. The VIX just put a new low here. Watch this 2481. If we come off the 2481, we might get our rally to 4200, but I really want this to come off. There is a bunch of VIX puts expiring on VIXpiration. Good. Hello. Just heard this thing cut out. So there's a lot of puts on expiring on VIXpiration, which could produce a rally going into FOMC and then a post FOMC dump. So just be aware of that. All right, so healthcare is coming back up here as well. Amazon is still hanging out here at 125. Keep an eye on them as they shake and bake. FOMC, I believe it is the 20th or the 22nd. I got to look at the exact date. I know CPI is the first event coming up this Friday. Then next week we've got OPEX and VIXpiration. So it's going to be a built week for sure. Well, yeah, SPY is right back to R1 after we dump down there. We'll see where we go. Watching the VIX, see if that can come off here. I've got up 4160 calls up and ready to see if we can move upwards from here. All right. Still hanging out. Did that price freeze or just my trading view? I think my trading view froze. Yeah, there we go. All right, now we're good. So I want to head over here and take a look at XLE as well. So XLE is poking up above 90, 89.97. I know Biden came out and announced that he's going to start augmenting the supply with more ethanol, which could have some negative effects. As we all, ethanol is garbage. But that's still something to be aware of. Taking a look at the oil futures as well. Oil popped up to 119.8, almost hitting that 120 level again, but they're starting to come off here as well. SPY, another red downturn here. So more heaviness. Not getting the rally that maybe some of us expected, which is cool for my puts. I'm all right with that. Well, confirmation, but looking forward to getting into position. I want to see a break of chop. So here's another downturn here, but we're still in the chop area here. So, I want to see a breakdown or breakout. One of the two. Might start looking at some call credit spreads if that's the case. Currently looking at June 6th. How high can we go? 4200s. How low can we go? Approximately 4075s, that might be a decent play. 4075. What's a 30 wide? 4075, 4045. No, That ain't gonna work. Let's do 40.80. 40.50s. Yeah, so you can get $1 for a 30 wide put credit spread at 40.80. Might not be a bad idea to throw in a couple of contracts. What do you suggest for people who like to lose money on who lose money on choppy day than they made on a trend day? Don't play it. I mean, that's the first thing. Yeah. If you are going to play chop, you have to, one, be aware that in a chop environment, you're not looking for much. You're looking for a little bit of green and get out. You know, a scalper's paradise is literally in and out quick. Scalper's mentality. You're not looking for a trend. If you do get some green, don't look for 30, 40%. Look for 5 to 10 to 12%. Get out. So maintain that mentality. And don't let a loss run away from you. If you take a scalp and it goes against you, don't let that turn into a 30% loss. Get out. Because right now, we are just chopping. We're continuing Friday's price action of just sideways chop. Yeah, it's very possible we could have a slow grind into CPI. And then a post-CPI dump. Like I said, those puts, my SPX puts are now, the CPX puts are right at break even here. So here's your opportunity if you want to avoid some upside if we do get any. So this is your opportunity to get out with the SPX puts. No, I don't use OCOs when scalping. It takes too long to set those when you're scalping. Literally, I limit in, limit out quickly. I execute the position. The second I execute it, I go in the order, and I bring up the order form immediately, and I'm looking for an exit. Now, if you're doing IBKR, you could set hotkeys, or you can exit out very quickly. I'm well versed in both of them by now, so it depends on your broker. That's the only two brokers I'm familiar with. Right now, no positions, but I'm looking at the 4120 puts and 4160 calls for SPX. If you're doing SPY, you could do 413, 415s. But right now, still hovering out. Still hovering out. The PCSs I was looking for are 60 points down. May not be a terrible play here. However, I'm just gonna let this morning come a little bit more. Get out the volatility a little bit more here. See where it's gonna go before we get a release down or up. Do you do a limit sell at the ask? It depends on the action. You know, it all depends. I mean, obviously, as a seller, I want to get a sell at the ask, obviously, but it doesn't always work out that way. If I put an order in at the ask and I can't get filled, then you're gonna have to start tickering it down a little bit to the bid, and then hopefully get filled there. If not, then you're gonna go down. You're gonna go down from the mid to the bid. But you know, my goal is to get filled at the ask. That's that highest price. Or if you think you're gonna trend into it, then you could play above it. If you're looking at the call I took last week, I actually ticked in. I was waiting for the price to break through a resistance, so I ticked in $1.50 above the ask on SPX, and I waited for the price action to fill into it, and that's what it did. And I ended up getting, I don't know, 10 or 15% on those, whatever it was. I don't remember. But yeah, there are times where I'll pay above the ask, and that just gives me an opportunity to build into a moving price. All right, so the Bookmap has got volatility, or not volatility, liquidity all right in this area. 41.50 down to 41.35. They actually put some on at 41.25 here, but we're just kind of hanging out. 41.65, 41.57 right here. So still, the Bookmap is still showing the same thing that we're seeing in the price action, which is consolidation right here at our current level until we make a move up or down to see if they're going to put liquidity on. But right now, everything is our general vicinity, 41.30 to 41.50. And above here, we've got that still level from last week, which is a 42.05, which is commensurate with the significant resistance that we have there. And that's pretty much what we're seeing here in the price action. What's up, Polly? Good morning. Good morning. Oh, nice. Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite coffee mugs. I drink out of it quite often. So thanks for supporting the store and awesome stuff. I love that cup. FOMO'd into some Amazon calls. Nice. Nice. I closed mine out that I carried over the weekend, but I took a last minute Amazon call. Wasn't up as much as I like it to be, though. You like the Neo puts at this price? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I took a small Neo put on this thing going into earnings. They just sold back off, which is nice. They have on the 9th have an earnings report. Now, they missed last time. I took the put because they are right at a resistance. Not to mention, I still think they're overpriced. They missed heavily on their last earnings. They got this one coming up, which I don't think they're going to hit. They've got a lot of headwinds in China that's been happening. So I don't think it's going to really, yeah. But you have to realize that an earnings is past looking. So, and you have to look at their forward-looking guidance. So, not to mention they were always an overpriced ticker, and I'm looking for them to come down. But we'll see. Building in risk mitigation with some small position size. Would you try to scalp this? Right now, I'm not going to try to scalp it. I'm looking for a position here. I might start throwing on some put credit spreads here in about 10 minutes, as well as some call credit spreads, depending on how I think the price action is going to break. But no, I am not scalping this at the moment. I currently I've not placed any positions except to close out the Amazon calls I swung. Other than that, I'm just kind of hanging out here. I am looking at right now I'm kind of thinking about the June 27th put that I've got that they took last week. They're currently right at break even, just a touch under. Right there. Not figuring out where to go. If we pop up to 4,200 today, 4,210, if we do get a bullish influx here, then I'll look at actually building into that position, because I do think about 4,300 is probably going to be where we fizzle out. The JPM collar is at 4,285, which is a phenomenally large strike that we need to take a look at. Yeah, the 10-year popped up to 3%. Didn't quite get there. It's 2.985 at the moment. But tinkering again with 3, and you're going to see that start to go up and up and up as the rate hikes come in and the tightening starts to take effect as well. And the VIX is not even moving. 25.5, 25.16. All right, I think the more I think about it, the more and more I like this play. 40. So 40.80, 40.50 for $1 right now, which is about 70 points down almost. We'll see if it take it here, coming up here in a couple minutes. Do I set stops on PCSs? I will today. If you are not well versed, especially because the VIX is still elevated, this is like right at the upper limit of my comfortability playing spread. So I will preface this play with, if you have no experience or very little experience playing credit spreads, I still highly caution you against playing spreads in this environment, because in this environment we can still have an 80-point move, a 100-point move, and smoke the crap out of your put credit spreads or any spreads. So if you don't know how to hedge, if you're not well versed in taking spreads, I still would recommend against taking them. But what I would do, if talking about hedging, if I did take a put credit spread, 40.80, which is 70 points down, if I took a 40.80 credit spread and the market began to sell off, the first thing I would be looking at doing is closing out the position. However, a couple of ways to hedge is you could short futures, which is probably one of the first things I would do, and then take some larger put positions on options. So those things together would protect your position, but up until a certain point, because the losses would start to get quite great, and then of course I would just close the position out. I play 0 DT credit spreads. That's it. I don't play long dated credit spreads. The longest I'll go is a week, which is something I commonly do when the VIX is lower. And we are pinned right here, pretty much just under the open. This dead flat price action. Snooze fest switch. We kind of got to get through this until CPI and then FOMC. It's going to be a phenomenally volatile week next week into Friday. Can you manually put a stop loss in E-Trade chart? Do you have to open an order ticket? I always set a stop, so I'll go into the position, bring up an order form, and just hit a stop. I don't use the chart function. XLF rebounding nicely to 35.35. Let's take a look at the rest of the X's. Everything's pretty flat except for XLF. XLP is downturning. Real estate's getting smoked. XLI, XLC, XLE coming off. There's 89.60. ES bouncing back up. And right back to the 50 simple moving average and the open. Theta's eating my Friday calls alive. I'm about to cut my losses. Yeah, Theta's going to hurt you on this price action. Plus the VIX is coming off too, so. All right, there's a nice green right there. It's crazy. My account is showing a much larger gain than I actually have, because when I opened up my account this morning, it showed a very substantially lower balance than what I had on Friday, and it's because of the Amazon calls. The Amazon calls were zeroed out to zero because of the split. I was like, whoa! Then I realized the Amazon calls. Yep. All right, so VIX just came off aggressively, new low of the day. And SPY is putting in a pump right here. Climbing up. SPX 4170 calls currently going for $11. Let's see if we can get up to R1. Nice, 30% on some SPY calls. Well done. It's still pumping. Look at this. Bam. Let's see if we can get up to R1. So let's take a look here. If we do go higher, I'll take a look at the 4170 calls, and then if we come back down, then I'll be looking at the 4140 puts from here. But we'll see. We'll see. Discipline thing is tough. I've been consistently winning since following a set of rules. However, my game plan is hugging with it. Played off the bottom of the AM range. I mean, that's fine. This is a scalper's environment. So, I mean, I see nothing wrong with selling at R1 here. I mean, you may have left a few percentage points on the table, but you can't catch them all. It's fine. I would much rather do that than have this reverse on us. So. So everything is looking green and uptrendy here. Amazon is finally starting to punch it through again. Google's climbing aggressively. XLF, big green on XLF, so that might carry us upwards. What are the bonds doing? Bonds are still down. All the other X sectors, XLK is coming back up. F is beast mode here. So if that continues to climb, maybe we'll finally get our push to 4,200 today if this continues. All of tech is doing very nice now. Very nice. On Bookmap, we just ate up that 4163. Looks like 4170 might be our next target. And then above that, 4180. And then above that, 4200. Tesla's starting to climb back green. Big green on ES. Here comes a touch of R1. Nice double D. You took my play. I should have took it. Well done. Well done. Yeah, I think so, trader. I think today, if we continue this, we might come up and touch 4,200 with the VIX coming off here. The VIX just popped low of the day. If we breach below this yellow line, it could enter us in some pretty tough, or pretty upward strong momentum. Because look, we've been bouncing off this all day Friday. Every time we came down to touch this level and bounce. So do we get the actual squeeze today and go higher? Here's R2, which is a considerable level. R2 right here. What's with the? Do you have a question to Zach? Looks like you have a question. Yeah, we're coming up. We just went through R1, and now we're coming up on R2 right now. So we're just under it. Yeah, R2. After R2 is, yeah. All right, so we got R2. If you notice, R2 and R3 are both strong. They both have the strength indicator. There's a lot of crap hanging out right there, which is under 4,200 still, but be aware of that. It's like 4171 and 4175, 4180, and if we breach that, then we've got that upward Momo. But look again, the VIX comes down to that 24 and change, and then the green candle. So nice, Damien. Am I going to average down on the swing position? If we come up, yes, I will. I will. What ticker do I use for VIX? I use the TVC VIX. So when I search for VIX, you come up with a plethora of options. Make sure you're selecting the TVC on TradingView because that will get you the live VIX. Nice, Kyle. Damien, killing it, 8.77%. So I'm watching the for VIX here to breach above R2 and then R3. That's what I want to look at. Looking very strong here, coming up through R1, and there is 4170. Watch for absorption there. No, I closed my call. I grabbed a quick call right before the close on Friday and just closed it, but I did close too early. I was a jabroni. That thing is climbing now. All right, so bumping up against R1 here. And we've got 4170 and then 4180 on deck. Kill. It's great. So I'd love to see oil start to come off aggressively and start to kind of bring in some bullishness here. XLE once again buying back up here. Until I see this crap go away, I'm not going to look at the puts that we've been talking about for a while now. Maybe even take some calls to jump back in there. Oil continue to bounce. NES is flirting with R2, trying to go for R3. Where do you get these R1 and S1 levels? Those are calculated. I calculate them every morning by approximately 9 o'clock Eastern time, and I post them in the community. So they are a customized indicator that I create every day based on multiple different data points. There's a top wick off of R2. All right, so the first level 4170 is quite significant, 410 there. We're kind of just pinging up against that. We'll see if we absorb that and then fly to 4180. But right now, that does appear to be the short-term target, that 4180, if we can hold here. They're taking off that stuff way down low. In fact, they took off everything under 4,000, except the way down stuff, which is way down to 4,000. I'm talking about 4,100. So watch out for this 4170 level right here. That's considerable. We're still holding. We're just under it. Would you share the community? Yeah, absolutely. If you come down in the description, you got the link, the description of the YouTube video. You got a link to the Discord. And then the website is right here. I'll post it for you. There you go. When do I cut losses? It really depends. I don't try to set it at a particular percentage or dollar amount. I try to set it based on the charts. When I see a complete failure of my thesis or whatever my target is, and then I'm like, okay, well now it's time to cut the position. So, and then I'll cut it out. But yeah, so right now my thesis for the SPX is still intact. Yes, we're going up here, but I took a small position with intent to build into that position up until a certain point. Now, if we start getting nutty and blasting through 4,200 and there's a huge momentum up to 4,400, obviously I'm going to close that position. But if we just kind of fizzle out here between 4,200, 4,220, and then sell back off, that's fine. I'll add to the position and then ride it back down. That's why I took it a month out. XLE smoked that green all the way back down. I'd love to take a position there. Chance to reload on calls, potentially. The sellers are still not really here. The buyers are definitely holding this right up here at R2. See if we can get a push above R2 to R3. Still hanging out R2. Will the next 4 to 5 days just be bullish? Looks like everything is going up. I mean, I don't know. I think still. I mean, but until we close above 4,200, I am neutral. I'm just going to play the chop. I'm going to play rejections. I'm going to play bounces until that. Now, my argument for bullishness here are twofold. The two main tenets now this is going up until FOMC. Now, all this is also notwithstanding of a terrible number being posted on Friday, which is CPI, which should bring Monday, make Monday pretty interesting here, because if we do have that delayed effect, then Monday could be very substantial in price movement. So there are two things. One, VIXpiration. You've got a tremendous amount of VIX puts expiring for VIXpiration, which could bring us higher. Two, we've got a very large JP Morgan collar strike sitting at 42.85, which is obviously about 120 points above where we currently are. And that'll put us above 4,200 and somewhere around the 4,300 range, which I've been thinking 4,300 would be the top of this this rally before the next downturn down to the 3,700 area. So if we do start breaking above, I'm kind of doing an if-and statement. If we do break and hold over 4,200, I'll be looking for upper 4,200s, lower, and that's pretty much where I was to hang out at. And then once we reject that, I'll be looking for a break of lows. And that's over the course of weeks, not necessarily the next week, but over the course of multiple weeks, maybe even a month or so. So there are my settings. I'll bring them up for Bookmap. These are Omar's configuration here. Constantly want to jump in and take a position. I know it's not discipline. How do I overcome this? Oh man, the big thing is experience. That's the biggest thing to overcome that. The longer I've done this, the longer I realize that I enjoy the process where the market has to pretty much convince me to take a position. I find a great comfort in looking over in my position area and seeing nothing. Because when I do enter, most of the time for me it's green because I've really dialed down my position, and I know if I'm patient enough, my best entries, my best positions, my most profitable positions come when I am patient and waiting. When you say position off rejection, do you put in limit orders that are R1 and scalp a couple points? I do that with ES. I do exactly that with ES futures. So, for example, when I'm scalping futures, I'll put in an ES short, for example, here at 41.20 because that's a huge level. And then if I think, and I'm not going to do it now because this situation I don't like, but if we just came up quickly, touched it once, I would set a open short at 41.70, like here would have been a good one. An open short resting at 41.70 or maybe 41.69, just over it, 69, and then it fills, and then I'll immediately close it for 2-3 points, whatever it is. Now, because we're holding here just under this level after the initial test and rejection, I'm not going to do that because the longer we kind of grind up against this level, the better the chances that I see that we're going to have a large green absorption and then blow through 41.70 and go to 41.80. So this is the case where I'm not going to set an ES short. The first test, yes, I'll set an ES short. The second test, not so much because this does look like we're going to absorb through 41.70 and go to 41.80. You're very welcome. All right. So still pegged up here to R1, or I'm sorry, R2. Looks like maybe they're going to test 41.60-ish before going back up to 41.80. Coming down, we get the little Lee Rat special here. First touch of the 8. This is a lower volume sell, so there's no volume on this. Coming down to touch the 41.55 and see where we go from here. Yeah, definitely patience, Jeff. Good stuff. Thoughts on the Qs? I track them. I track them via the Nasdaq. But yeah, right now they're doing they're up because of obviously Google and Amazon. They're two big players now. They're absolutely roasting. Amazon is quite bullish today, obviously, as we all knew, and then Google is as well. Google's at 23.69, climbing. Who's inviting me to play Fortnite? When do y'all invite me to play Fortnite? It's the middle of the day. Y'all know I'm not playing Fortnite right now. Crazy. Alrighty. Waiting for the next play here. Waiting for the next play. 415.86. So hanging out above pre-market highs. Just pinned to R2. Bookmap looks like this. There's what I got for ES Bookmap, looking at the NASDAQ here. And there's what I got for NASDAQ. Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for joining. Let me know if you have any questions. You can come over and hang out with us in the Discord. XLE looking pretty heavy this morning. Looking pretty heavy. You want to take calls on Goog? Yeah. Yeah, they got a split coming up too, so could be potential there. Wire contracts Amazon. So, oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, split. Big split this morning. Amazon's now trading for $1 or $127 right now. Looking for a move here at 41.70. Yeah, we did just have a bounce off the 8, but it's still not really coming off the 8 just yet. Just kind of holding out here. Still looking at the 41.70 calls for today, if we can get some Momo. No, I dropped my pencil. I don't really drink, so. That's right, I am. I like that LaCroix. Did I get a new mic? No, I'm still the same. This is the, let's look at the Bose headset that I've had since last summer. All right, let's take a run through tech here. XLE getting destroyed. Good stuff. Apple is up. Microsoft is coming off just a touch here. Amazon is up. Google is coming off. So they're opposite of each other now. Tesla is starting to come back a little bit here. Healthcare is nice and green today. Facebook is up as green as well. So two of the big tech names are kind of dragging us down a little bit, but starting to make a little progress. XLF is very green. And up. Looks like we might break the ADMA. And Bookmap is still pinned just under 41.80 down to 41.60. And there's the first break. I'm going to look at puts here if we break this. Because watch this 41.55 level, which is just the bidding around. But Careful there. Careful. Don't need that anymore. What about shot for a potential split play like Amazon? Yeah, potentially. Can you talk more about the CPI and the implications it'll have? Yeah, so CPI is going to be the price of the inflation index coming out on Friday. It's a monthly number they release. That's past looking. It looks at the prior month inflation data. So this one's highly anticipated. I think we had 8.1 post last one, and it was actually taken as bullish. The reason being is because people were saying that this is the peak of inflation. That once inflation hit that number, great, now we could start rounding over and be done with inflation. But Europe came out and posted a historically high level last week. And then, of course, prices for the consumer continue to skyrocket across the board. Doesn't matter what category, all prices are skyrocketing, which leads people to believe, economists to believe, that the CPI is going to post even higher this Friday. If that does happen, then you're going to start seeing aggressive selling off. Why? Because you're going to leave the Fed no choice but to start hiking the rates higher. That could bring in a possibility for a 75 because the Fed has got to get inflation under control. That's number one goal right now of the Fed, is to get inflation under control. That's what happens when you throw in a phenomenal amount of money into the market. Where will it go? So they have to get that under control. The only way to do that is start hiking the rates. So if you see that, that's pretty much going to be the interpretation of the market. If it comes in and worse than expectations, you're going to see a very aggressive sell. So we're struggling to hold this 8 right now. Red green. There's been 4 red in a row, followed by this green here, just under R2. I filled up my tank. Well, I tried to fill up my tank yesterday. $120 did not even give me a full tank. It's outrageous. And I promise you, if the consumer is feeling that, think of all the companies that rely on logistical costs, like Amazon, like any company, like airlines, whatever. Which airlines usually lock in their prices with some futures, with oil futures and fuel futures. So that's different, but still, they're going to get affected by it. So yeah, so we're now through the 8. We're not getting the bounce off of it. So. And we are trickling down. That's now 5 red candles in a row, and we're bursting through it, selling off. Would it be worth it to open a strangle for CPI? Maybe the day before or the right before the CPI data is released. It would be beneficial. Now, the CPI data does release pre-market. It releases 8:30 Eastern, I believe. So, which is pre-market. Significant volatility. Now, what you can do, if you don't want to play contracts or play a strangle or a straddle on options, what you can do on futures is you can long ES and short NQ, or the other way around, because you can't long and short a futures contract unless it's different. So you can long ES, short NQ, or the other way around, and you could skew it to one side or the other. If you think we're going to go up more, take more value on ES than you would short on NASDAQ, or the other way around, and skew it the other way. So you can do it on futures too. Amazon split. Amazon split. Well, that's the thing, Mohammed, about the CPI number, is that it's heavily manipulated. In fact, if you go back and look at the CPI, website, there's an asterisk beside it back in December or January, because they recalculated how they refigured how they calculate CPI, and they did that, and I think it's intentional to skew the numbers. And there's always going to be some skewed data and interpretation, but yeah, I mean there's always interpretation like that in terms of the number. Hey, that's a Tundra. That's an older model Tundra, but hey, I like it. Little joystick there. I like it. Nice, Randall. 1% on the day. Well done. And we're coming back up. We're coming back up. Right to R2. I love it. I'm going to be very patient this week. Y'all might get aggravated with me because I'm going to be very, very patient. I've had a phenomenal past couple of months. I do not want to give back some stupid profits on some chop, especially when I know what's coming. Like, I am starving, and I know we're about to walk into a Ponderosa or a Pizza Inn buffet for my 90s kids, and we're about to chow down. And that is Friday, and then a week and a half after Friday. There's a big meal coming. And I don't want to ruin my appetite with some Cheetos or some chips. I'm going to wait. Golden Corral, baby. Yeah. Love me some Golden Corral. Yep. Yeah, what Jonathan said. Live on YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then I'm live every day in the Discord. So you think starting from Friday the market's going to tank? I don't know. I'm going to say big move. I don't know up or down. It all depends on what the data comes in at. It all depends on what the data, because Friday's CPI is going to skew the FOMC. So one's going to build on the other. Then again, I'm sure the FOMC, I'm sure they already pretty much know the data. And then, of course, we're going to see what Biden comes out and says, because remember what happened? Jen came out and said before she parted ways, Jen came out and said, prepare yourself, the CPI number tomorrow is going to be extraordinarily elevated. Those were her exact words. She said in a public presser, she said the CPI is going to post extraordinarily elevated. And then we sold off the next day when it actually did post. So there's a lot of events that's going to kind of fall. It's going to be a domino effect of what happens on Friday. If it's going to be bad, then we may see some more verbiage come out from the White House, and then of course FOMC is going to be following week, and then we're going to see their guidance. And if it is extraordinarily elevated or worse, then we're going to have to start bringing that into play. Because right now, there's been no official talk of 75. Bullard's come out and said that the Fed needs to hike 75, but there's been no official talk of 75. And if that does come into play, you will see another significant sell-off like we had back in May. And here's another red candle, still just under R2. In the Bookmap, we still have this 41.55 level on, and we still have 41.70. Yeah, that's a great point, Stuart. You definitely got to stay away from market orders. There is a time and a place for market orders, which I think are few and far between. But a vast majority of the time, stick to limit orders, and you'll have a better profitability. No, I think that's absolutely true. But the problem is that this is not just a United States thing. The globe as a whole is experiencing mass inflation because of all the stimulus that's been pumped up. And we weren't the only ones to stimulate the economy. The whole globe did, at least the major economies. Not to mention the American economy kind of has a spillover effect into the globe. So, yeah, that's absolutely true. The Fed can only do so much to control it, and that's why one of the guys said last week that we are about to face a very substantial economic hurricane. Like, we are right now looking at the horizon, and on the horizon we see that massive hurricane that's headed our way. And I agree with it, just because of the crap that we're facing. And we still haven't had any kind of real pain in the market. We've dropped but we haven't had any true pain in the market yet. We still got this 4170 to deal with. 4155 is kind of hanging out there. Yeah, so yeah, what you're seeing here is trading view. What do you think of real estate in the upcoming months and years? I want to buy my first house. I think the market of, well, there's two sides to that coin. There's two sides to that coin. There's still demand to purchase houses. However, with the interest rates going up and the prohibitively expensive cost to build a home, the demand for the building is going to drop off. The demand for buying is going to drop off. However, there's still a demand for homes. It's just not going to be as pumped as it was. So you're going to see some deflation of the real estate market. Now, where you're going to see, I think, a maintenance of demand is going to be land, because land has gotten gobbled up left and right, especially where I live. I've been looking for land for years, and I finally found a property that I was willing to invest in. So the land is harder and harder and harder to come by, because people want to build their home. Most people want to build their home. So you're going to see that start to maintain. So I would think that's why I've transitioned my real estate forward-looking guidance into land development and kind of putting my real estate home purchases on hold. So if you are looking to build a home, my advice to you would be gobble up some property that needs some TLC, that's not overgrown property that needs some work, and put in the work to do that, and then hang on to it. So people want to move out of the city, yeah. Yeah. You have a contractor friend, even better. Even better. I work with one of the things about military people. If you don't know a lot of military people, then if you did know them, you would know that a lot of them are very entrepreneurial mindsets, because they're alphas. They're go-getters. They're usually very motivated, very driven. A lot of the dudes I know have side gigs. A lot of military dudes that I know, that on the outside they have side gigs, and a lot of those dudes are in land development, like excavating, grading, stuff like that. So, I got a bunch of dudes that'll clear properties for me. Still hanging out at R2. Any plays currently? Negative. Negative. Just under R2. Do I think we'll see a pullback today? I'm not expecting a pullback today. In fact, we're still holding R2. If we drop down under S1, potentially, but we're still holding under R2, and the liquidity is still higher. So I'm just looking right now. I'm still looking for a move above R2. I'm a site development contractor. Oof. Yeah, I'm not sure of that. Especially, man, you want to talk about some aggressive buyers. Come down here when people are trying to buy land. Yep, I believe that. Yes, right now I'm focusing on calls until we get a breakdown here. Until we get a breakdown. Do you put a stop on 0DT options? Sometimes. I would say about 50% of the time I'm putting a stop on an option. Now to 0DT, you have to be a little giving with your stop. You can't put it too tight because you'll get stopped out continuously. Is there any sites that show charts on options? E-Trade does it. And IBKR, yep. What's the difference between a limit order and a market order? Limit order is a defined order. So if a premium is fluctuating around $3 and I want to say, I'm going to put a limit order where I'm going to buy no more than this price. So you're going to set a limit order of, I don't know, let's say 280 because you want the price from 3 to go down to 280 and that's where you're going to enter. Limit order, stick it in there, done. Market order is exactly that. You're going to pay market price. Just like when you go to the seafood restaurant and you flip over to the back page of the expensive stuff and you say lobster tails, and then instead of a dollar amount it says market price. Because you're going to pay whatever the market price is for lobster is that day. You're going to order it, they're going to hand you the bill and you say, holy crap, market price for lobster is $47 today? That's what you're going to pay. Whereas last week it was only $17 or whatever it is. So that's what that is. When you open up and you pay market price, you're going to pay whatever the willing seller is going to sell it to you at. And it could be favorable, it could be quite disadvantageous. I've gotten a rogue order fill 300%. Some people have gotten rogue order fills way worse than that. So just be very cautious trading up market orders. Is a limit order necessary when spreads are tight? No. In fact, that's when the volatility is not there and there's a lot of just sideways chop like today, a market order wouldn't really do that much. Like it wouldn't be that different. Where they're really coming to play when you're trying to FOMO into a bigger move, that's where it really starts becoming a detriment because you could FOMO in, and when volatility expands, so does the volatility in the premiums, and you could get a very, very poor fill. Especially if you're trying to market order fill into a call on some very strong upside, you could get a position that's automatically down 20%. So you'll enter the position down 20%, which obviously we don't want to do that. You said last week you prefer strangles over straddles. Why is that? Does it make it easier to place slight conviction on a particular direction? I do prefer long strangles over long straddles because, one, they're cheaper, the premiums are cheaper, and on a 0 DT position, it's very easy to overcome the losing side as long as you are certain that you're going to get a larger move. That's why I'm very careful when I play my strangles. With straddles, you're going to pay more. Strangles, you're going to pay less. Why? Because you're taking premiums that are further away from the money. They're further outside the money. So it's very like if you take a 0 DTE strangle, that is, I don't know, a couple bucks outside the money, and you get a strong rally. It's very easy to get a 100% gain on a 0 DT position if you're certain of a large rally. So, I mean, heck, especially if you take it the last 2 hours of the day or right before an FOMC event, one candle and you're up 100% on the winning side, which overcomes the losing position. Also, current seafood pricing. There you go. But then you can skew the strangle to whatever your bias is. If you think we're biased to the downside, then skew the strangle to the downside and use the call as protection. Use it as a hedge instead of an ambiguity play. Use the losing side as protection. If I want to stop renting and buy my first house, that still seems to be a good idea. Yes. There's a lot of arguments out there for renting versus buying. I think renting is a terrible idea for a long-term investment. Now, renting is a tool. I've rented before when I was a kid. Renting is absolutely a tool to get you from point A to point B, but I don't think renting is a smart idea at all for long-term investing. If you bring in appreciation, you're losing money substantially on renting. But you know why? Because you bring in the equity and the appreciation standpoint of purchasing a home. If you are a savvy investor, when you purchase a home, you spend 5-6 years building equity in the home. You could pull the money out to use that for investing. You could do the Burr method. You could do the reinvestment when you're reinvesting into rental property or investment properties, and you can't do that with rentals. Not to mention, rentals has no track record. Homes do not care if you paid 6 years and 6 years on time on your rental payments. They don't. So you're just throwing time out the window in addition to money. So. I don't think it's a terrible idea to wait for a little bit for the prices to come down. However, you don't know how long it's going to take. And I would hate for you to rent for 4 years waiting for the price to come down and throw all that money and time away. So that's the problem. It's like you don't know when actually the price is going to come down. So I would rather you enter into a home and then work your equity around that home. HELOC or equity loan for 5-6 years. There are pros and cons. Pros and cons. I would rather do a HELOC because it's more liquid. I would prefer to do a HELOC. There's our big red off of R2. And the reason why I want to use a HELOC is because it's literally like a checking account. You do a HELOC, they give you the money, literally an account that's just as liquid as a checking account. You could take it or leave it, you could pay it off and it's still there. It's an open-ended loan against your equity. And you only pay interest payments on it. There you go. Nice FL, yeah. And plus, if you're a high demand area, I mean, like what Makusa just said right there, is that you're getting cold calls of trying to sell your home. People coming up and just knocking on your door saying, hey, do you want to sell your house? If the bonds are still coming off here as well, like they are getting destroyed, look for big rotation into financials. And if once that turns back up, I think once XLF turns back up, we will have the push through R2 on SPY. Yeah, exactly, crypto. And that's precisely what a lot of people have done. So now they've got a HELOC for 75% of their equity of what they currently value it at, which is phenomenally higher than where it was 3 years ago. So now they've got this huge HELOC or whatever open-ended credit line against their home that they can use. And the savvy investor would use that inflated home price to reinvest into other investment vehicles. Make money off your money. Is pool deck considered renovating? No. In fact, a pool doesn't necessarily add value to your home, and sometimes it's a detriment because a lot of people don't want the hassle of a pool. Although I have a pool, I love a pool. But and here's another red candle here. So far, the buyers and sellers are duking it out, just under 416.5. Oh, nice, Burton. Yeah, I love my pool. I was heavily against a pool before I had a pool, but I've got a permasalt, and literally it's less than $500 a year for maintenance. So it's incredibly cheap for a permasalt. We leave it open. We don't lock it up during the winter. We leave the pump running, leave it running, and then the year we put in the yearly chemicals and bada bing, bada boom. That's it. Yeah, Minnesota for sure. So easy to maintain. Yeah. Sold our boat in a house with a pool, best decision ever. There you go. Yeah. I refuse to buy a boat. I refuse to buy a boat. They do have a boating club where we live where we can do a membership, but the downside to that is you have to book the boat like weeks in advance because everyone does it. Yeah. I have a friend who owns a boat. There you go. There you go. Not to mention now it's like $1,200 just in fuel to ride the dang thing. All right. Another bottom wick on this small red candle. We're trying to see if we're going to punch 4170. Still looking at the 4170 calls, but no play. Can you talk about why you do same DTE and fight theta instead of trading options further out? Well, I do both. When I'm doing my day trades, I do trade zeros. But if I was holding a zero DT contract, I wouldn't be holding through this chop. So I want to play zeros while the price is moving. The second I see this will destroy zero DT position. So I'm getting out. Do I ever play stocks? Sometimes, yeah. Yeah. And we'll see more of that. When SPY starts doing this more often, we'll see more plays. I'll be doing other plays and other stuff. And then, of course, you could trade futures in this environment. June 9th is the roll date. So good question. Yeah, so June 9th, 2022, they roll, and June 17th is when they expire. So probably somewhere around June 9th, which will be this week, I'll be switching over to the next contracts on ES. So be aware of that. In fact, let's take a look here. Futures 4163.25, so that's matching. Good to go. ES September contracts currently going 4167. Yeah, I think until expiration you may be right there. So, and then futures. Here we go. All right, here's a test. Coming back up to R2 again. Where are we going? Good luck with both those. That's Sturgeon Mara and Vicodin. Oh, man. Yeah, don't trade on Vicodin, Jonathan. Trust me. Although I did pretty well my 2 days. I was high. Another rejection off R2. Look at that. Can you describe the difference between trading futures and trading shares? Yeah. So when I'm trading shares, let's just say SPY. Let's say I'm going to trade a share of SPY. It's 1-to-1. So if I buy right now SPY, I'm going to pay approximately 416.15 for a share of SPY. If it goes up to 417.14, I'll get $1. But yay. With futures, you get $50 per point or whatever. I'm talking about ES, which is going to be the S&P minis. There's multiple different future vehicles you can trade, but if we're talking about futures, they're leveraged positions. And what leverage means is basically, in a nutshell, using money you don't have to trade something that's much more valuable than something you can afford. The notion of value of the ES is in the hundreds of thousands. But I am able to trade one ES contract at 41.62, and for every point that it goes up, I get $50. Or down, I lose $50. Big rejection off R2. I'm going to add a little higher PBS. At least I'm going to look to add a little higher. There's another rejection of R2, heavy rejection of R2. I did not play the short off that. And XLE is making yet another comeback. The sellers cannot take advantage of weakness in XLE. Does something happen with futures overnight? Yep, you get the mark-to-market settlement. So if you are holding a position, they settle every night at the settlement close at the market, because the market closes for an hour every day after close, approximately 5 to 6 p.m. And they do the settlement close, and the account is your account is adjusted the value of the futures. So if you're holding a losing futures position, they're mark-to-market. So when the market closes at settlement and it reopens at 6 p.m., you get the mark-to-market adjustment against your value. It's not really a problem unless you continue to bag hold a futures position into oblivion, or if you are someone who is on the verge of the PDT limitation and you're trading options as well, it could bring you down below the PDT where you get PDT violated on options. VIX is still hanging out at 25. Okay. All right, another rejection off R2, and they drop from 416.50 to 415.68. So dollar rejections off R2. Let's see if this one's the one that gives out. If you always sell before market close, if you always sell before market close, you'll never have to worry about the adjustments, which is what I usually highly recommend. Very rarely will I hold a futures position overnight, usually only if it's favorable. Bookmap still undetermined. 41.50 is being put on, and still holding 41.70. European closes in 30 minutes. The lonely VWAP. Yeah, UK market's up nearly 1%. They're up 0.85. German markets are up 1.7. Oh, they did? Okay, I didn't know that. Is that from D-Day, for D-Day? Yeah, I didn't know that. Okay, good deal. Thanks for letting us know. Yeah, what Lee Rat said there. Listen to Lee Rat. Yeah, so there's two different ways to play futures. You can play the futures themselves, or you can play options on the futures. So people get that confused. Futures options are treated just the same as regular options. They still have theta decay. There's regular options. There's lower liquidity. The spreads are a little wonkier. There are, like, I know the ES futures options are 25-cent spreads. They can only 25-cent increments. But the futures contracts themselves, those are the leverage positions that are not affected by theta. And because of that, people think they can hold those into oblivion. They think they can hold those and bag hold them because there's no theta. The problem is the market-to-market adjustment. You'll blow your account up holding a ES loss or any futures loss into perpetuity. What do I think of this low volume? I think we are waiting for CPI. Can you go over a plan for the Amazon short-term or long-term? Well, we are at a very interesting time because, on one hand, if you think back to the Tesla and Apple raging after their split, you would assume that Amazon would do the same. Now they are up 4.6%, which is a very high, which I wish I would have held my stupid call. However, we're in a very different environment, and we are on the verge of a downturn. We could have a little more upside here, and Amazon probably can go over 130 this week and probably will. But I think it's going to be stifled by that multi-week rally that Tesla and Apple had back in August of 2020 by the current economic conditions, and that's the problem. So I'm not looking to hold any long-term leaps on Amazon. I'm looking to play the upside with some daily scalps on some calls. CPI is Friday, this coming Friday, 8:30 Eastern Time. Asian CPI is Thursday. Yeah, I didn't know that. I'm good to know that. I'm glad they do that. Where do I trade? I trade E-Trade and IBKR. Which way do I see SPY moving? I still think we're going to breach over 4180 today. The fact that the sellers are not separating us from R2, I think we're going to separate over. I think we're going to pop 4170 and at least transact 4180. That's what I think. Above that, who knows? We could squeeze a 4200, but I think we're going to transact 4180 today. When I refer to R2, what does that mean? R2 is my calculated levels. So if you look over here, I've got all these levels. R1 through R5, S1 through S5. Resistances, supports. These are levels I calculate. They're custom levels that I calculate every single day, and they adjust. So tomorrow they'll be different. The day after that they'll be different, so on and so forth. So the highlighted levels, you see that S3 and S4 are highlighted. R3 and R2 are highlighted. These are indications of strength. So I put a plus sign beside them to make them stronger. Or not to make them stronger, to indicate that they are stronger. I wish I had that kind of effect. That I could put a plus sign and make it strong. All right, so 4170 just got a lot larger. Let's see if we can go higher than R2. When you first started out to get caught in this chop, how do you train yourself to stay away from it? Well, it's not necessarily getting caught up in the chop. It's identifying when the chop starts to get out, especially if you are trading zeros. If you're trading a long-dated position, then like I'm still holding the June 27th position. If you're trading a long-dated position, then you've got a little more leeway. But if you're trading a 0DT position, you have to identify chop quickly and get out. Otherwise, you're going to get destroyed. So for me, once I start to see a particular level being failed 2, 3, 4 times, I'm going to get out. And then I can always re-enter. But good question, though. Good question. Yeah, 0DT positions are not good positions to hold for any significant amount of time. I would say 10 minutes tops of no movement before I'm looking for an exit. Because after that, the point of where you need to break even is going to get higher and higher and higher, or lower if you're holding puts. So the longer you hold data, the further away your break even point gets if you're in a red position. So at that point, it becomes it's my best interest to close the position and just look closely for a different exit or for a different entrance. Holding in the money is better. Yeah, holding in the money is going to hold up your premiums a little bit better because you're not going to get hit as hard. Yeah, if you are holding outside the money positions, watch what happens in the last hour of the day. They get destroyed. I'm talking literally you can go from 0 or 10% gain to a 90% loss in seconds in the last hour of the day on a 0DT position if you're outside the money. So you got to be very careful. Oh, there you go. So we had a nice strong move right again. Again, a third rejection off R2. Almost down to the penny. I think actually did come down to the penny. It's still hanging out here at 41.70. Yeah. Snooze fest so far. Snooze fest. But I promise you, do not let this week chop you up because we have a lot of volatility coming next week. So don't blow up your account and give back a lot of profits when there's so much potential coming. We had a career week in May as a community, so let's do it again in June, but we have to wait for it. No, they're not based on Fibonacci. jabroni. Y'all are crazy. NASDAQ's coming off here. Let's take a look at the rest of the market. Kind of get apprised on this stuff. XLK, the bottom end of their chop range there. V's there. Y. So XLC's coming off. XLE is beasting back up. Once again, day after day, in and out, XLE gets bought up. And one day, it'll finally come back down. Apple's coming off here. Microsoft, red candles. Google. Looks like we might get some extension away from this level. A little bit of heaviness coming in. Google's rounding over. Tesla. Healthcare's dumping. Facebook, big red. Maybe this is the time we dump. Let's take a look at potentially 4140 puts. So finally we get a breach of the 21 after multiple rejections of R2. Come down to the 50. Amazon or NASDAQ is dumping. Maybe get a little rejection here of the VWAP. Big red. Just missed a fill on some puts, trying to get in some puts here. This is a big old smoke show right now. All right, looking at the 4140s, if we can get through VWAP. So big old level came in, smoked downwards, absorbed everything at 4155. We're looking at 4150. Sell-off is huge on the NASDAQ. Look at that. Boom. Through VWAP now. Oof. Down. So we're through the 34 now. We're through all of the EMAs. If it can close here under R1 at end of the EMAs, watching the NASDAQ too, could get a little hairy. VIX is not really moving all that much. Watch that NASDAQ right there. NASDAQ has got nothing except for 12,850 and down here at 12,600. NASDAQ still falling. Very large levels there on there. We're under all the EMAs. Watch for so selling volume just spiked there. So there's a spike in selling volume. We're right at 4150. If we take out 4150, we could be in for some downside here. So watch for some absorption right here. Bam, flushed. Flushed it. And now we be dropping. Through R1. Watch this level there. Now they're starting to put on some liquidity a little lower. Wow, still dropping. I like it. I'm scalping some 4140s here. And let's see what can happen. Nice red through S1. Coming on down. All right, there's S1. Now we've already taken out 4148, 4146. Now let's look for 4140 and see how far we can get on these things. Yeah, so 4140 still coming on down. Very large downside, looking great. Everything, the whole market just rolled over. So looking good, looking good, looking good. Now we got 10, 20 on these things. Watch for 41.40. I wouldn't look for too much more under 40.40 unless they start putting more liquidity on lower. So quick scalp on these things. Quick scalp on these things. I did, yep. So under S1, watch for 41.40. Like I said, I'm not going to get greedy. If we can touch 41.40, I'll pretty much exit the whole position. But we'll see. Why the sell-off? I mean, this is just liquidity coming in and out. So buyers had multiple times to breach R2. They couldn't do it, so sellers are just refreshing this. The order book is just selling off a little bit. Ooh, interesting. They just put on 41.34. They just put on 41.34. So very interesting. No. 28.85 or 42.85 is the JPM. So they just put on this large level. I'm going to show you all this in the server. There you go. So this looks like maybe some profit taking or some selling off into the European close, which is in 15 minutes. So yeah. Nice, Mario. Well done. I didn't take it right at the top, but still doing well. Quick 20%. Nice, Jesse. So the 41.40 puts. If we can get one more candle down to maybe 41.35, 41.38, somewhere around there, this could be a pretty nice win. Quick 24%. Nice, Mohan. Well done. Set stops, though, just in case we bounce and go back up here, if you're in a position. All right, let's see. Watch out for 41.35. They're building that position, so I wouldn't be surprised if we came down and touched there. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I'm still holding the puts. I'm not exiting yet. I do have a stop place, which I recommend you do the same. But at the moment, we're just hanging out. We're just hanging out. NASDAQ just put in a new low. In fact, NASDAQ is going for the daily low, which would be very substantial. That would change the outlook of today's market. If NASDAQ breaches through this level and puts in a new low for the day, that could change things. Careful. Careful, careful, careful. Still coming on down. This is starting to become substantial. New low for SPY, at least the new micro range here is new low. Can it take out the 413.67 right there? Still holding the puts. I've got to stop into play. I've got to stop into play. It's roughly 10% in profit if this were to bounce. I'd be careful taking puts on Amazon, but you may be able to scalp some profit out of that. NASDAQ is, oh, look at that. Holy crap-a-roni. Breached. 41.40 still holding. That was a flusheroni, if I've ever seen one. Things are changing aggressively. The outlook is changing aggressively here. And I'm about to sell some contracts at 101%. 102%. Holy crap. All right, hold on. I got to sell some of these. I'm taking some profit. All right, I just sold some at 104%. Still falling. 120%. Wow. Wow. This is unbelievable. What a day. This just turned into a phenomenal day. Unbelievable. All right, so there's S2. Sell off. Watch for 41.35. All right, now I'm checking for news. 180%. 160%. I read that wrong. 160%. I'm closing more. Now, if anybody has any news, let me know. But I'm still looking. I don't see much. Let's see here. Close. Bear with me. I'm closing out some positions for profit. I lost some right there on that little bounce, but still nice. Change. All right, so they just put on 41.30. They just put on 41.29. What a day. What a day. Anybody else get a 100%er there? Somebody sure had to have got a 100%er there. Nice. Well done, Tony. Wow. Did not expect that. I did not expect a 100%er. I'm not going to lie. Now, this is not a gap fill. The gap fills don't work like this. They don't just sell off out of nowhere and sell off for a gap fill. So this is different. That's why I'm looking for news here for some sort of catalyst. 150, nice, Alexander. Am I missing something? The 10-year spiked aggressively. That could be it. What's up, Josh? Flip that green candle red here. All right. Hey, they just put on 41.22. Man, am I glad I didn't take that PCS. This is why I don't take credit spreads in this freaking environment. Jabronis. Jabronis. Italy's 10-year bond yields are at the highest since 2018. I got 167% on these puts now. Just got in lower. Just got in lower. Can I get 200%? Are you serious right now? Wow. Holy crap, it's still selling off. It might be time to put on more puts instead of close. This is heavy. More. 200? More. All right, I just trimmed a little more, and I'm holding the rest for runners. Holding the rest for runners. Currently at 192%. 198%, 200%. A scalp just turned into a 200%er. Holy crap. Enough to make my day, Embry. Enough to make my day. Wow. All right, what do we got here? Enough to make my day. You wearing your good luck jabroni t-shirt? I like it. I have instructed the missus, by the way, because she's in charge of merchandise, to create 3 different shirts, one of which, actually 4 different shirts, one of which is jabroni, is a jabroni style shirt. So it appears it's the Italy 10-year rate spiking to 5-year highs. I don't see anything really else other than that. 10-year yields are spiking, but this is an egregious sell-off. Currently sitting at 173%. I've already closed most of the position. I'm holding some runners here. See if I can get a close higher or close lower in this instance. They just put on 41.20, so be careful though. But they did clear the order book above us. Still set stop. I'm going to set a stop approximately 100%. So if this does bounce, I will ensure the remainders close at 100%. So hold on a second. Let me set this stop. All right. My stops are set for the remainder at 100%. I'm letting them just fly. Let them fly. Oh, the auction. Okay. Okay, it was an auction. What are the bonds doing? I forgot to look at the bonds like a jabroni. Bonds have been selling off. They got a little bounce there. XLF rolled over in tank. 10 years popped. Pop-a-loppin'. 188%. UK sending long-range missile to Ukraine. Yep. That may start something. Wow. Wow. Unbelievable. First 100% are nice, Robism. Nice. Still holding the remainder of the position. I think I actually did get a 200% of there. I need to figure out, see what my fills were. Puts, buy. Did I get it? Close to it. It's right on it. Still holding up. Still holding. See if we can fall. Watch out, though. They put on liquidity at 41.09. Wow. Everything tanking. Like, I saw things rounding over. Enter. You see that kind of candle breaching below R1 and then VWAP. It's like, come on. It's like now things are rolling over. Honestly, it was a scalp. I intended it to be a scalp, but it sold off. So I'm like, holy crap. Literally, I saw my premiums go from 11% to 60%. And then at that point, I'm like, all right, where can this go? 100%, 200%. Within 5 minutes, I had a 200%er. It was just it was a good entry on the scalp that got a lucky break and turned into a huge win. And that's what happens. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And that's when preparation got in. Right, 5 minutes, we got Euro close. There's another red. See if we can engulf this and come down and break lows. If we break lows and touch S3, this could be a 300%er. Can we do it? Can we do it? 5% of the count. Nice, bread more. Hey, your clover leaf came off. You've been here long enough. I love it. $153%. $1.34% on my count. Nicely done, Damon. Killing it, man. Scaled at 10%, close at 15. Nice. I'm at 142%. I'll be looking for a close here. If this does go, if this goes above 41.39, I'll look at closing. Until then, I'm going to hold these. Speaking of which, yeah. Very interesting action. I'm going to take a little look here, see what Bloomberg's got to say. A little bit of bounce. We're at 41.36. Do I look for reentries with your levels? Like we go back to S1, could be potential reentry puts. Well, the environment of today's market just drastically changed. It went from chop to grinding upwards to a huge sell-off that breached the day's lows and the pre-market lows. So the nature of the market's completely changed today. So now I have to reevaluate how the price action is going to respond to this. The VIX has spiked up aggressively to 25.5. I need to see if this does start coming back up here, is this going to turn into a trend down day or just a chop with a little bit of a sell-off there from the bond auction that just occurred? That's what I need to figure out. And I don't know yet. I don't know the answer to that question yet. So the first rule of thumb, or the first priority, manage the position I'm currently in. Figure out when I'm going to close this position. Grew my account by 33%. Nicely done, nicely done. First day back after pull out of account. Oh, nice. Dude abides. Man, that win really ties the room together. All right, little green. And 122%. The liquidity here on Bookmap is posted at 4140. Right there. I'm not seeing buyers really step in here yet. The volume's kind of dropping off. I'm looking for a move to see if we could retest this 4128 and then maybe fall to 4120, 4123, which is why I'm still holding the remainder for you here. Phenomenal, phenomenal. I've never seen like one of the X tickers be so resilient as XLE. XLE is met with buyer every single time there's red for the past weeks because the energy is so strong. I cannot wait for that thing to burn. Some pun intended. All right, so here's another little round over. Looking for 41.31. Man, Amazon and Apple got destroyed. Google and Amazon holding up well. XLF. Still holding. All right, so here's a little push down. Watch out for that swing level there. Now we're going for 412.78 if we can get there. European market is now closed. That's true. That's true. There's a bounce. All right, looking for a close here. Almost hit my stop there. Came within 6% of hit my stop. Position size winner for the day got into more SPY contracts versus fewer SPX, and able to scale out. There you go. Isn't it beautiful to be able to scale out like that? Well done. Awesome stuff. Yeah, me too, Carter Hack. I was up over 200%. I think I got to close right at 200%, but still holding these things for 130. How much percentage wide you give yourself? It all depends on the environment. Here, I set the stop when it was approximately 180%, and I set it at 100. Obviously, having a stop loss at 100% gain is pretty nice, but I had an 80% buffer to let these things adjust. Now, if it's a little tighter than that, then I have to play that dynamically. Has Bookmap changed how I hold my positions? Yes. The biggest, that's 5 green candles in a row here on ES, not on NASDAQ. So the biggest game changer for me using Bookmap has been my exits. It doesn't quite help my entries all that much, but it greatly helps my exits. It allows me to hold positions longer when needed, and tells me that this will be in fact a trend day if the liquidity supports that. Now sometimes the Bookmap is not quite clear, as with all tools, but it does a great job in telling me when the liquidity is pointing us in the direction of a trend. And right now it's showing us that we could potentially touch 41.27. No, I don't play gold. Does theta decay affect in the money options? Yes, it does. Just not as aggressively as OTM. There's a nice red candle. That's a nice red candle. All right, testing that again. Let's see if we can hit 41.28 before coming on down. NASDAQ is about to put in a new low. ES is a little bit stronger at the moment. VIX is not moving. Watch VIX. Nice red candles. NASDAQ just put in a new low, and we're coming on back down. Booyah. Can NASDAQ hold? Let's take a look at the NASDAQ Bookmap. They've got this level here at 12,625, and then they just took off to 6,210. But then there's a lot of crap below it. I will not chase. Yeah, downside targets, if this does turn into a downward day, S3 is huge. So watch for S3. But right now, buyers are still defending very aggressively so far. We're just hanging out. S3 is way on down here. Way on down here, 412 and change. So if we do break below here, that'll be my first target, which will put us probably about 250% on the puts if we do get down that far. We'll see though. Buyers have to give out here before us to even start talking about that. Tesla's got all liquidity pinned lower to 700. A massive, massive order on Tesla at 700. Amazon is 125. You're very welcome. I bought a single put on Friday for NEO. Should I buy another? That's up to you. That's up to you. All right, here we go. Here's another push. Breathe. Breathe. 169%. All right, watch here. Watch this level here, 41.28, and then watch for 41.23. If we start getting heavy again, I'll look at adding additional positions on 4120s. 41, yeah, I'll do 4120s. But currently still holding the 4140s. All right. Pin to S2 right now. S2. So whenever you have an event-driven sell-off like this, we want to look for how the market's going to respond. So we've already taken out the day's lows. Bearish. Sellers volume supported the sell-off. Bearish again. Right here, we're just kind of bouncing off the 8 coming on down. We still have a lot of bottom wicks here. The buyers are still defending. What we're looking for here is to see if the buyers are going to give out and drop below the prior low there, which is approximately 412.80. So far, they're still defending. We're still hanging out here. If we're going to come back up here, then we'll start looking at the upper resistance, like 8, like the 34, and then, of course, if we get high enough, the VWAP, which will be way on up there. But still, they're flipping every red candle green, a lot of bottom wicks, which shows us that we are going to go up here. So we'll see how this responds. Now, I don't see any liquidity above. The only liquidity I see above is there's a little bit at 4170 and there's a lot at 4180, but other than that, they've still have this lower level here, immediate area here. So just watch out for the downside. 4110 is quite substantial. I think I finally got the clicker talk about. I learned so much about volume price action to where to look for resistance support. There you go. Nice, AZM Wizard. It looks like the bond auction is what caused this. That's the only thing I could find that would cause this kind of sell-off. I don't think it would be Italy. They're just not really a big player. Yeah, that's because of the bond auction. All right, so watch right here above the 8 and above this little resistance line over 4140. See how we react here to 4140. Watching at the NASDAQ here. So NASDAQ just put on 12,686, which is 30 points above. Might be time to close these puts. I I think so. Another rejection off the 8. Little Lee Rat holding us down. So they're putting on more here at 41.41, 41.40. So there's a substantial amount of liquidity just above us, 41.40, 3 points above us. They still have the 41.28 on, but it looks like we need to negotiate this first. And I'm about to get tripped. And pop. There you go. So my stop just got hit for 100%. So I'm out of that position. So they just took out everything here at 41.40, and now they've got 41.43 that's just above us. Nice little response of the bulls here after a lot of bottom wicks at 413.02. All right, so let me post this for y'all. So this was the entry here. Bam. Six SPX. Bam. Hey, big green. Excellent. Got out the right time then. XLF is starting to bounce though. Amazon is not bouncing. So where is this green coming from? Apple's starting to bounce here. Let's take a look at the X's. XLK is rounding up. V is rounding up. Y, XLF is finally starting to. Okay. So green across the market. Right back up to the 21.34. We'll see if we can get the VWAP on that. They just put on 41.50, which is probably going to be somewhere around VWAP. Oh, man. What's VWAP? Right now it's 414.93. So very curious to see where this is going to look at. I'm going to take a look at the chart here. So what's the 1 year look like? Another respect of that downward trend as we came up to 41.70. Another rejection moment back down. Still hanging out right here. And you can see that if we do fail this trend right here, 4,200-ish level, the next step down will be mid 4,700s, 3,700s, I'm sorry. Oh, you're asking what is VWAP or what the VWAP is? My bad. Yeah. Yeah, it's a fantastic indicator in the world of indicators. So it looks like a 19,000 block order of Q puts came in just before that drop. Someone always knows. Someone always knows. There's another red off of 21. Didn't quite get up there. Still hanging out. $41. All right, so it looks like we're probably going to chop here for a little bit before we move. So we've got 41.37. But there's nothing profound until 4,100 or 4,200. This is what we're going to have to deal with until then. All right, well, there it is. Choppy day. I'm going to give this a few more minutes here, and we'll call that a morning, and we'll pick back up here for the afternoon. Event-driven sell-off followed by continued chop. Yeah, me too. Definitely FL. So 199%, that's what we cleared on that play. Didn't quite get the 200. I was over 200%, but I couldn't get the close. Well, although I don't expect a positive CPI number, you never know how the market interprets stuff or how the market's gonna how they're gonna manipulate the data to be where they want it to be. So you have to remember midterms are coming up, and when things are politically driven, they start getting a little murky. Yes, I will stream this afternoon for the Discord. Bookmap. I'm checking liquidity on the Bookmap. You're very welcome. I do have an affiliate link for Bookmap if you're looking to sign up for it and get you some money off of your plan, whichever plan you choose. I think there's only the Global Plus are the ones you get the discounts. Yeah, I'll get it for you. And I'll give you ES too. I'll give you ES here. Now, if you join the Discord, you'll head down to the bottom left in the voice channels, and you'll be able to join the voice channel stream, which is in the Traders Corner voice stream room. By the way, I did get a notification from Discord that they're adding a text channel within the voice channel. So, like the voice channel you click in to join, there'll be a text channel where we could actually talk if we wanted to use that. So, new update from Discord. Nice, Damien. And the day on a high note. Nice, blah, blah, blah. Killing it. Nice, Lane. Yeah, good stuff. It's a good plan. Yep, the OMU live trading is for tier 2. We're going to start utilizing that this month. Yeah, see, under the voice channel, there's two voice channels. You got the Traders Corner, which we're on now, and then there's OMU Live, which is for the tier 2s. And we're going to be start utilizing that this month for some rundowns, briefings, and for live trading. Yes. Yeah, all my plays I take with y'all will either be posted or called live on the voice stream. Either one. Everything else doesn't matter. Yep, the everyday stream we do every morning. Yep. Got a $4,100 PCS. Okay, for today. Just be careful with that if we have a bear pop in the afternoon. All right, y'all. Well, it is 12 o'clock Eastern. I'm going to go ahead and call that a morning. Looks like we're going to chop a little bit. We'll see where we go from here. So, I'm looking for a response from this price action. Are we going to recoup the morning levels, or are we going to sell back off this afternoon? That's what I'm looking for. This is just chop after the initial aggression. We'll see where we go from there. I'll be still monitoring the Bookmap. I'll still be posting in the rooms and monitoring the charts and the Discord. So let me know if you have any questions. Well done if you took that play this morning. Nice little win. Did not expect that, but hey, sometimes it happens that way. I'll see you all this afternoon in the Discord, and I'll see the YouTubers back on for Wednesday morning. Y'all take it easy. I'm out.